Holidays. You know them, you love them. People often dread them because they cost so much money, but it's a fact of life. There's going to be a holiday coming up in your life soon, so you better prepare for it. But I didn't just start this video to give you a sense of existential dread. I'm actually here to talk about fantasy holidays and how important they can be to your world building. Oftentimes, when it comes to world building, holidays are overlooked entirely, and that's a massive oversight. Most of the time, they'll tell the story of the founding of a village or even kingdom. They could also coincide with massive celestial events, like winter solstice or spring equinox, as many of our holidays already do. There could be holidays devoted to deities, harvest and marine time festivals, holidays based on giant animal migration, and there would be different holidays in different areas of the world based on culture and even class. So this could just be that missing piece of the puzzle that you're looking for if you just can't get your setting right. And it wouldn't be a homebrew review if I didn't leave 10 customized holidays down in a PDF down below for you guys. So without further ado, let's get into it. Our first holiday is going to be the Awakening of Eos. The Awakening of Eos is a spring equinox holiday that's devoted to a deity. Each one of these holidays I've tried to give a rich lore to. And as a quick example, legend has it, Eos's powers reach its peak during the spring equinox, allowing her to push back the cold and shadows, signaling the light's victory. And that's just simple stuff that a primitive culture would have celebrated, and then that would have been a tradition carried on through the ages. When it comes to holidays, feasts and markets are always a given, but there needs to be a certain point of interest, like the Shrine of First Light, where you'll find our first NPC, High Priestess Elara, and she seeks assistance in preparing a ritual for the festival. There's plenty of different points of interest, NPCs, and plot hooks, 3 of each, actually, in each one of these holidays. So it's almost like a self-contained story if you just take it and run with it. I've got a lot of the details put out there, but it's really just fill in the blanks. It's meant for your type of storytelling, and it's a suggestion. More or less, the importance is the holiday, not really the NPCs or plot hooks, if you don't necessarily want to use any of them. I don't want to go through all 10 of the holidays and spoil them for you, but I do have 3 more holidays for the solstices and equinoxes. So we've got spring, summer, fall, and winter all set up for you. Winter just happens to be my favorite. You've got to check that one out down in the PDF. But as an example of what a holiday might look like from a different culture's perspective, the people who live in the desert would likely honor a lot different things than the people who would live on the coast. Water being one of them, but there's hundreds of different cultural variations between the people of the sand and the people of the sea. And this is where you can take some liberties with world building, with the Serenade of the Sands. This holiday is going to be celebrated by the desert people of a certain area, but the sands aren't just sand. They have a little bit of silica or something in them that makes the sands squeak when walked on. It's not an incredibly large squeak like comically, because sand in real life does actually squeak in certain areas. But when glided across it with a wind glider, you're able to make these sands sing. And legend holds that the Serenade of the Sands was first held by the Sahar people, who are now long gone. This celebration happening once a year when our cactuses bloom and a large fragrant smell comes across, almost with a tempting allure. An illusion or even mirage might be able to be seen if you inhale too much of these cactus fumes. But certain points of interest within this festival could be a midnight ball or the dune races, in which people would have to race across the dunes and not only win the race, but make the best song while they glide across the sands. And most of the time, we're not even talking about the story hooks. There could be so many things to do in the desert, like uncovering something in the sand that could be an ancient Zaharan artifact. Or perhaps somebody's just trying to ruin the festival, and you need to stop them before they stop it. But most of all, I think the coolest story hook for something like this is the disappearing oasis. The oasis that only appears on the night of the festival. And the only person who can take you to that oasis is an elderly old man, the only inhabitant of the village who's ever seen it, and he's been hunting it down for years. There are so many different things that you could do with holidays and world building in general to make it really feel alive. I don't know what I was doing choking someone there, but I hope I got my point across. Now going in a completely different direction of the map, let's go to the underworld. The Underdark, if you will. And you may say to yourself, what do they have to celebrate down there? But I assure you, any place society thrives, so will culture. They go hand in hand, and if there's somebody down there, they likely have something important to them. And that's amplified even more so by a collective society. So if you're not sold on the Underdark having holidays, then I don't know what to tell you. But this holiday is pretty cool. The Whispering Winds, Echoes from Above. The backstory for this is, in the Underdark, you're likely connected to the whole of the world. So when one part of the world is blanketed in snow, the other part of the world is going to be flourishing with green. This blanketed part of the world is likely going to be sealed off as far as airflow and maybe even entrances to the surface world into the Underdark. But on the opposite hand, lots of air would be coming from the summer, spring type of environment, and those spores, seeds, and other things would be able to blow into the Underdark. The legends of the Underdark people might even be able to hear the ongoings of the upper surface world should they listen close enough. This would end up being a semi-annual event, so you'd have it twice a year just in separate parts of the Underdark. Or perhaps one part of the Underdark only celebrates the quiet times and the other part of the Underdark celebrates the festive times when they're able to gather seeds, spores, and other kinds of sounds. And you might ask, how exactly are we going to celebrate something like this? Well, first and foremost, there would have to be something called spore hunters. People that would go out and look for seeds and spores coming from the surface to possibly change the agriculture from down here. Not every plant's going to survive, obviously, but some might be able to adapt, and that's probably very important to how the Underdark even started. And these spore hunters don't just have to hunt for spores or seeds, they might just be looking for wind. Whoever is looking for the whispering winds in the new caverns that they haven't explored yet would be looking for cracks into the Underdark from which the wind is coming from. Truthfully, like being a prospector, but for food instead of gold. And there could be so many different features a part of this, like a market that sells all of the foreign goods, or perhaps your players are just looking for the special mushroom that does that special thing that you need them to do. It could be curing an NPC, or maybe even lycanthropy. But there are a bunch of different story hooks that you're able to use in the Underdark. And there's actually 2 Underdark holidays in the list here. If you get bored, go check them out. Not too long ago, we talked about the founding of a kingdom, city, or maybe even an order. What if you wanted to have your witchers in the game? Well, the Day of the Eternal Hunt has got your back. The Order of the Veil was founded underneath the Blood Moon. Link in the description as well. A horde of Lycans was encroaching upon the village, and an unlikely band of heroes formed together to fight and prevail against the Lycan wave. This was the founding of the Order of the Veil, and the Day of the Eternal Hunt celebrates their victory. These witchers would be open and excited to share their history, and they open up the Veil's Keep once a year on the Day of the Eternal Hunt to share in their culture, and possibly even spread it to some new recruits within the crowd, taking them to the Crimson Forest where the battle was won. The city would likely honor this order as heroes, and the festival would commence within the town even if you're not a part of the order, making the festivities and markets abound. But not all is well in this quaint little city. A howling rebirth is going to be more and more Lycans gathering power, possibly even trying to push back on the next blood moon, which your party happens to be a part of. And the last type of holiday that I think would be really cool is animal migration, or monster migration, you might put it. Merfolks, mermaids, sirens all likely have a period in which they come closer to the shores and spawn, just to lay their eggs and further the migration and breeding patterns. But what if when this happened, there was an all-day Siren Song close to the beach, and a civilization was close to it? Not close enough to be lured in and trapped away forever, They know and understand the beach is off limits for this day, unless anyone gets lost to the Siren Song. When far enough away in the town, this is some of the most beautiful music you'll likely ever hear, and it's the perfect backdrop for an all-day festival. The Cliffside Watch would likely have plenty of guardsmen overseeing the festivities as they are on the edge of peril. But there could be something like a moonlight dance to honor the Siren's song, maybe even imitating the dance of the sirens down below. Just like the desert for the sea, there are endless opportunities for story hooks for your players. They could go looking for something to stop the sirens from affecting them. They could go looking for a lost artifact within the sea. They could head into the Siren's Cove, where all of the siren songs are amplified and made to a hallucinatory effect. There's so many different things that you'd be able to do with just simply plopping a holiday in the middle of your campaign, and I hope I was able to prove that to you. If you guys have any suggestions for holidays, please leave them down below because I'm trying to gather up at least 100. But like I said, if you guys like that, don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe, and I'll see you all later. Holidays, a self-contained, the backstory for it. They know and understand that the beach